Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, or indeed if you're new to the channel, welcome along. My name is Andy, the Commentator, and this is episode number 11 or 12, I can't remember which one it is, of this series where I am playing Extreme Warfare Revenge and I'm booking Control Your Narrative. Now you can see there, it is currently Friday the 18th of April. I'm recording this on the 30th of May, so we're quite a long way behind real time, but as I've said before, we're not going to worry too much about catching up to real time because, well, it ain't going to happen, or highly unlikely anyway. But that's not important. What is important is what's going to happen in this episode, and that is going to be our big April event, which is going to be called Final Command. So we finished that's the build and hype, an amalgamation there. We finished the build for the event in the last video, and now we're going to book the PLE that's not a PLE. So we're going to be doing that, and then we're going to do the Fallout, the next episode of Disruption, which will take place the following Monday. So let's get straight on with it, because we're going straight into the event. As I said, before we do that, actually, let's just have a quick recap of where the booking finished up at the end of the last video, whichever one it was, episode 10 or 11. And that was the last episode of After Dark. So the last weekly TV show before our, as I said, PLE that's not a PLE. So we had an ominous, not a ominous, an ominous warning from the Blacklist. They're going to be appearing at Final Command. Joe Hendry beat Brian Johnson, because why not? Sean Morley did an interview where he basically said some words about Shark Boy, I think. Not very nice words, probably. There's a hype package for the Adam Scherr, and Omos match. And then the main event was a DQ finish between Chuck O'Neill, Shark Boy, Gable Steveson, and Viano 4. So that just ended up, they wrestled for about 10 seconds, then they just went into a big schmoz. And that builds up the Gable Steveson Chuck O'Neill match a little bit more, at least in my tiny brain it does. Right, so with that being said, let's crack on as we move into Final Command. We'll kick things off with a random thing. So it's going to be the pre-show segment is going to be a debut, and it's going to be a debut of a new wrestler, and they're going to answer a challenge. I think it's going to be spoiled here, but we'll see. So singles debut via call out. So when I click on book in a second, I think it's going to be spoiled. But see if you can guess who it is. I'll give you a clue. No, I won't. Can't think of one. Alright, well I could, but you know. I mean, there's some obvious clues, but I don't want to give it away. Anyway, let's just get on with it. It's going to be Jungle Boy. So Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, whatever you want to call him. I think this is pre-Brawl In. Was it Brawl In? Was it All In when the Crimea River thing? So it's going to be Jungle Boy, and he's going to take on Jake Atlas. So what would happen in this segment is Jake Atlas would come out to the ring. He'd do his usual promo. Hey, well, you know, another PLE that's not a PLE's come round, and I'm not booked. It's because I'm gay. Blah 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 blah. You know, playing the homophobia card. And then Jungle Boy's music hits. He interrupts him, and then they do a bit of a work shoot about. Jake Atlas will say, "Well, I got fired from AW because I was gay." Blah blah blah. And then Jungle Boy can say something like, "Well, they got fired from AW because you suck." And then he can make, and then there's an obvious innuendo we can do there, but we're not going to do it. But one of them can say that, and again, it just kind of leads from there. Like I said, I think this is in this database, it predates CM Punk, the CM Punk incident. So it would still be a babyface at this point. But speaking of I said Jake Perry then. Get a lot of names wrong. We've got Matt Scherr and Jake Perry. Yeah, speaking of Jungle Boy, where is he? Where has Jack Perry gone? I quite like the scapegoat thing, actually. I thought it was quite a good. I thought it was a good nickname, at least. Maybe the character or the direction was a little bit odd at times, but I thought it was a good. As a nickname, I thought it was quite good. Anyway, it's taken me far too long to book this segment. Not all the segments will take this long to book. Don't worry. So anyway, yeah. So that's what happens there. So Jungle Boy debuts. So we have Jungle Boy on an event, and we don't advertise him, which I'm sure people like Brian Alvarez would say we're crazy, but we control our own narrative. So yeah. Rather than advertise somebody that would probably increase ticket sales, they're just gonna turn up on the night. But yeah, hopefully that'll encourage people to buy a ticket. I mean, I know that's the logic, but it never works that way, does it? So you think, you know, you have surprises, so then people think, oh well, I'll turn up to the next one because somebody might turn up. but then when they don't. Anyway, move on to the opening match, and it's going to be the cage match between Gable Steveson and Chuck O'Neill. So last month, these two faced in a submission match, so it's supposed to be an amateur wrestling. Basically, this rivalry is amateur wrestling versus MMA. So the last month they had an amateur wrestling match which Chuck O'Neill won. This month they're going to have basically an MMA fight, hence why it's in a cage. So we get rid of the ropes, and this time Chuck O'Neill. So it's basically Chuck O'Neill's match against this month compared to Gable Stevenson's match last month. So Chuck O'Neill won the amateur wrestling match. So no prizes for guessing who wins this match. And it's Gable Steveson. So in hindsight, maybe Gable should have won his match and Chuck should have won his match, and then they could have had like a neutral match. But we haven't done it that way. That probably would have made more sense, to be fair. But we're not doing it that way. So Gable Steveson is going to win, but he can win by escaping or something. He can win by not like tapping him out properly like in an MMA fight. He can get out the cage somehow, or it can. The commentators could say something like, "Oh, the cage has been reinforced, so there's no escape." But then he falls through a panel. He can win by luck anyway, something like that. And that then continues the rivalry. So we're going to lead to a rubber match. So Gable Stevenson's beat Chuck O'Neill in his match. Chuck O'Neill's beat Gable Steveson in his match, the other way around, and then that'll lead to a blow off, if we like, if we want to call it like that. And then while the ring ropes have been put back up, we can have an angle, and it's going to be another angle, once again another lame attempt at trying to keep Adam Scherr happy. So yeah, warming up, and it's Adam Scherr. Yep. So he gets ready for his match with Omos in the main event, and again, as I said, another failed attempt to try and keep his morale up, which won't work because it never does. And now we've got some ring ropes. We can have our next match, and it's going to be the Joshi match. So it's Maki Ito's "Somebody doesn't like my singing, so I'll beat them up" match. So Maki Ito takes on Sori Anu. So again, this match was set up in the last video, I think. So Maki will come out, she'll start singing Sori's musical hit to interrupt her, and then they'll have a match, which Maki will of course win. And of course, she hits her with the microphone or whatever she cheats with. And yeah, no real purpose for that other than just because that's Maki's gimmick. She sings every month, somebody tells her her singing sucks, they have a match, and Maki cheats and wins. Next up, we've got the Sean Morley match. So Sean Morley came in, cut a promo, talked a load of rubbish, and Shark Boy didn't like it, so EC3 stuck him in a match. So it's Sean Morley versus Shark Boy. And Shark Boy is going to pick up the win on this one. Big event this is, with all the big matches taking place on Final Command. So Shark Boy wins, he can win cleanly. But then afterwards, EC3 is going to attack him. So EC3 up to this point, I don't think he's just had people shout at him. So Ethan Page has shouted. I mean, Ethan Page has disappeared if you've been watching the series, but he will come back. A bit of a spoiler. I've not forgotten about that. I'm got a bit distracted with this now. I think this could go somewhere. So then Adam Scherr and EC3 had an argument, and now he's sort of feuding with Shark Boy. So he's basically been on commentary all this time and just let people shout at him. Whereas now he's going to get physical. So it's going to be an attack on Shark Boy. So what would happen here is after the match, so Shark Boy would win, Sean Morley would roll out the ring and sort of be a bit embarrassed. Then Shark Boy would start shouting at EC3, saying, you've set somebody else onto me and I've beaten him. Are you finally going to step up? Are you finally going to take your headset off? And then EC3 just ignores him. Adnan sat next to him and commentated, well, are you going to then? I mean, I like having you sat next to me, mate, but you're a wrestler, why don't you get in there? He's calling you out, and EC3 just shakes his head. But then as Shark Boy goes at the ramp to leave, and he's sort of waving to the fans, giving high-fiving them as he's disappearing, doing the Shark Boy thing. EC3 puts his headset down and attacks him from behind. So that's what would happen there. So again, that's to build up the match between Shark Boy and EC3, which is likely to happen at some point. So EC3's finally got, after 4 months, EC3, if I put my teeth in, has finally got physical. Okay, next up, the match that was set up a few hours ago, or an hour ago, feels like about 3 hours ago, how much I've been talking, but it isn't. So it's Jungle Boy versus Jake Atlas. And Jake Atlas is going to win this match, but again, it's going to be by dodgy means. So he'll do some, I don't know, he can do something like give a low blow or something. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, yeah, he cheats to win basically, and then maybe after the match cuts a promo about yeah, let's say put a good match. Why not? Cuts a promo about being held back because he's gay or something like that. Because obviously that's his gimmick. I mean, he's gay in real life. I mean, the gimmick I'm portraying, I want him to portray. Watch the series, you'll know what I'm talking about. Right. Okay, next up, we've got the appearance that was threatened or promised in the last show, the last episode of After Dark. So it's going to be an angle, but I'm going to have to book it as a diva angle rather than a stable angle. So let's just do the booking and I'll explain what happens. Okay, so it's Mina, Chris Dickinson, and Patrick Clark. So what would happen in this segment? Obviously, I need a different way. I think I said this in the last video. I keep saying and then. So I need to find different ways to segue. I will try and think of something. But anyway, for now, this segment. So the last video that when I booked After Dark. So Patrick Clark basically said, "Oh, you know, I'm going to come and I'm going to make an appearance at. We're going to make an appearance, the Blacklist at Final Command. Then we're going to meet Mina's friend. We're going to see who Mina's been hanging out with while she's been here." So what would happen in this segment is, so the lights would go out after the Jungle Boy match. The lights would come back up, and Patrick Clark would be in the ring, but just with Mandy Rose on this occasion. So just with Patrick. I mean, obviously can't book that here, but that's what was happening. So you know, Patrick Clark stood there in some elaborate outfit. You know, Mandy Rose stood there in the skimpiest outfit possible. He cut a promo saying, "Oh, did you miss us? We promised we'd be here, and you know, here we are. This is what, you know, we promised we'd be here, and that's who you've all come to see me. You've come to see Mandy." And obviously, because Mandy's not wearing a lot of clothes, she gets some kind of reaction from the audience. But anyway, you know, you've come to see us, and we've come to see Mina. We haven't seen Mina for a few weeks because she's been here carrying out our orders or something. I'd say something like that, or she's been here supposedly carrying out our orders. And anyway, come out to the ring. So Mina comes to the ring, and then they start chastising her. So you know, it starts off friendly. You know, so he'll do that thing where he'll ask her a question, and then before she has a chance to answer it, he'll ask her another question. So he'll say something like, "Oh, have you been enjoying your time?" And then they gradually get a little bit more sort of. If they gradually get a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Ominous, that's the word I'm looking for. Because you get a bit more, so we'll say that, "Oh, have you enjoyed coming to hanging out on these shows recently?" And then he'll put the microphone to her face, and as she starts to talk, she's obviously nervous because she knows he's not happy with her. So she starts to talk, and he'll pull the microphone away and go, "Oh, and you know, have you made any friends since you've been here?" Puts the mic there. "Oh, well, yes, I've started. Oh, that's great, that's fantastic." And you know, and then eventually he sort of asks her like, and you know, and why haven't you been doing what we've told you to do? And then he puts the mic there, and then this time he leaves the microphone there because she can't answer that question because she doesn't start to answer, so he leaves the mic there after pulling it away for like 4 questions. And then anyway, eventually she starts to cry or something like that. You know, he grabs her hair or something. You know, he gets violent with her, so he grabs her hair or something like that. And at that point, that's when Chris Dickinson runs in. And then he'll say something like, I'm surprised to see you out here. What are you doing here? And obviously, he knows what they're doing here. He knows why he's here. And then they start fighting, and Mina's sort of stuck in the middle. And you know, as they're fighting, Mina's screaming, and Mandy's kind of holding her back, saying, you know, this is your fault. And anyway, eventually, you know, Mina breaks free from Mandy's clutches, but then Chris Dickinson goes to clothesline Patrick Clark or something, and he ducks even. He doesn't cluck. He's not the Red Rooster. He ducks, and he clotheslines Mina. That was a long description, but I think you get the idea. I think hopefully I've painted the picture. I'm not quite Rembrandt, but other paints are available, of course. But yeah, so she gets hurt basically. So Chris Dickinson hurts her, and then Patrick Clark, because he pretends to care about Mina, because he's in her stable. She's in the blacklist. He then gets annoyed at Chris Dickinson. Oh, now look what you've done. You know, you've come out here. We were just having a conversation, and now she's got hurt. And then Chris Dickinson just like shakes it, and he just stands there. And Patrick Clark and Mandy Rose carry Mina away. There we go. That was fun. We got there in the end. My voice is already gone, which is worrying because I've got another show to book. But maybe that's a sign I should talk less even. But we will finish off. We're not going to cluck about. We're going to get on with it, and we're going to have an interview before our main event. So it's going to be Matt Raywell for Omos, or in English for Omos. And of course, they're just going to basically say that Adam Scherr's career is done tonight. You know, this is the culmination of this month-long feud. The final match between Adam Scherr and Omos, and it's going to be a death match. So I've put my risk up to 96%, and we're finally actually going to book a match that reflects that. So it's Omos versus Adam Scherr in a death match. Who is the dominant monster? Who is the ultimate giant? Who is the best big man? Whatever. I don't know what stakes we can put on this. But tonight, it will be Adam Scherr. He's going to win this match. Still won't make his morale go up, but hey, you know, we'll go with it anyway. So a clean victory, and he finally beats Omos, and he puts on a good match doing it, hopefully. Tell you what spots these two could come up with in a death match, but yeah, it'd be suitably violent, I'm sure. Right, so that's Final Command. That's what we've been building up to for. It feels like forever, but we've finally got there in the end. Let's go. Yep. So, okay, that wasn't quite how I described it, but yeah, we've got the Jungle Boy debut. Cool. That was a good match. I feel like is that overall rating not quite an average of the two? Don't think it is it? So we're going to suffer a little bit, which is slightly irritating, because that should have been overall 64%, I think, if my maths is right. So that's slightly annoying, as I said. That's fine. Cool, that was a good match. Match quality 70, that's pretty good. No, that's annoying. Well, I say it's annoying. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. But, yeah. I meant to change that, actually. I don't know. Yeah, I think his gimmick is. I think he's still got the Val Venus gimmick, basically, but I put him as. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Cool. That was a good match. Good. That was not quite the point of that segment, but she keeps getting over, which is the main thing. So that's excellent. Let's have a look. How does he describe this segment? Because it's a bit more terse than I just did, but it'll be wrong. Let's have a look. Chris Dickinson is standing backstage when Patrick Clark attacks him and from behind and floors him. Clark goes to continue the attack, but Mina Shirakawa moves between them, blocking his path. He hesitates, then pushes her out of the way, sending her into the wall. Chris Dickinson comes back through and sends him running after a few punches. Alright, okay, so actually... Right, yeah, so Patrick Clark actually pushes her into the wall. Okay, so Patrick Clark hurts her, which obviously would make no sense for the story I'm trying to tell. My version was better than that. I think we can all agree. I was hoping for a bit better there. Hey, there we go. And I wonder why that is. It's a shame as well, actually, because that could have been a good match. But still got 60% and 71 reaction, so pretty good. Channeling the spirit of Misawa, Adam Scherr uses a forearm to the face. Yeah, I'm sure Adam Scherr and Misawa, they've got so much in common. That could have been better, should have been better, but In my mind, it was better. And that's all that matters, of course. Right. 376 people. Of course, it would have been 3,000 people if we'd advertised Jungle Boy, but we didn't, so there we go. Cheers, Jerry. That's why I pay the big bucks. You probably should be Mackie, but, you know, tough. Okay, right. So that was Final Command. So now we need to start the build to our May event, which I haven't quite figured out what it's going to be yet, but we'll get there. But, yeah. Let's do, I know I said but twice then, but let's move on. Right, yeah, so we're going to be booking our next episode of Disruption as we continue to hopefully become a more brilliant. Let's see what this is first. I was going to say become a more popular company and keep the finances going in the right direction. Let's see what happens here. Zicky Dice has gone into rehab. Okay, well, we're not firing. We're not going to do that. We'll support him through his rehabilitation. Now, I don't actually have him booked on this next show, so that may be why he's gone into rehab. After Dark has not been renewed. No, it hasn't. So I decided not to renew After Dark, obviously. So I need, basically, at the end of this month, I need another TV deal to make up for the fact I've lost After Dark. But the reason why I didn't renew it is because I didn't want to continue with that graveyard slot, because that graveyard slot is worse than I was expecting. Also, I want to grow the roster, so I can't really grow the roster when I've got one of my shows only has 5 segments. I haven't said that. I mean, I'm already struggling to use everybody, but hopefully, if I can get another TV show with more segments, it will give me a good excuse to grow the roster. And I'm only going to miss out on 1 day's worth of money because After Dark takes place on Thursday. There's only one more Thursday in April. So I'm only going to miss out on one. As I said, I'm only going to miss out on one payday. So I think in hindsight, maybe I should have had 3. I should have booked 3 shows on this video, but I've only got 2 written, so that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to just write one off the top of my head. Right, yeah. So anyway, yeah. After Dark's gone, so we're down to 1 show now till the end of the month. But I will be sending another TV deal out, another promo tape out. Hopefully, get well, we need another TV deal because we can't afford. We need the money basically from 2 TV shows. So yeah, we'll sort that out at the end of the video. We'll sort that out in the next video, I should say. Like I said, in hindsight, maybe I should have wrote 2 episodes of Disruption and done them both in this video, but I didn't. In hindsight's a wonderful thing, of course. Right, so After Dark's not being renewed. Let's see what else we've got. Other news. I wonder if CMLL have become national or whatever. I wonder if they've grown. Simon Boost, that's of course Simon Dean, I think. Dennis Brent, I don't know who that is. David's brother, probably. VJK Ball, don't know who that is. Steve Porter, don't know who that is. Bob Densmore, don't know who that is. I know who Jim Cornette is. Sammy Callahan has left TWR to work for Ollie, because nothing screams Lucha Libre like Sammy Callahan. Tom Lawler has done the dirty on Defy and gone to Ollie. CMLL signed Johnny Elite to a written contract, so it should be Johnny. What was he in? He's in Lucha Underground. Was he Johnny Mundo? Anyway, Johnny Lucha, it should be something like that. They'll sign James Storm because nothing screams Lucha Libre like James Storm. And there we go. They have risen to national level, which is why they're randomly signing people. Right, Disruption. So the fallout from Final Command. And actually, let me just check something before we make a start. Yeah, movie star. Okay, let's change his gimmick. Because apparently... So it's movie star rather than adult movie star, which is interesting. Okay, let's change his gimmick because I want it to... Is there one called... I'm sure there's a gimmick called... I thought there was one called Conspiracy Theorist, but I want... Just someone who talks rubbish, basically. Stoner? Why not? Why not? We've not said it's a bad idea. Let me just... What does Sophie say? Let's see what Andrew Scott said before we talk to our Soph. Jake Atlas, Maki Ito, Mina Shirakawa, yeah, okay, that's fine. This work, yeah. Okay, let's try it. It'll probably bomb, but it doesn't matter. It genuinely doesn't matter. Yeah, there we go, Adam Scherr. There we go, morale 11. So that really, imagine, look at his condition, 62%. That's because of that death match. I didn't realise it was going to do so much. Almost as 81, so don't know why his is so low compared to Omos's, but oh well. Yeah, the issue is because he's normally, if somebody's unsackable, if you don't keep the morale up, you lose your job. So I'm expecting this series to end soon, but we'll keep ploughing on as though it's not going to end. But I think that we're going to have a problem soon. Yeah, we'll go with Stoner. Why not? Why not? And we're going to kick things off with this new gimmick. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm thinking about this. Yeah, I can't. I'm sure if you let somebody who's unsackables morale get too low, you get fired basically. So, but we'll see. We'll worry about that when it happens. Is it a one-on-one? Yeah, I know what I want it to be. Here's another angle. Let's have a look. It must be a one-on-one. I've not planned this out very well, have I? And my voice is going as well. There we go. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, challenge dies. Yeah, that's fine. So what would happen in this segment is Sean Morley come to the ring. He'd say how embarrassed he is about losing to Sharkbot. Losing to a guy who, fully grown man who's walked around with a shark mask on his head for the last whatever it is, 20 years or whatever. And he says, if I can't beat a guy that walks around with a shark, pretends he's a shark, then I shouldn't be in the rest of the business. So you know what? I'm gonna have one more match, and if I lose it, then that's me done. So the next person to come out here, if I lose to them, then I'm going to retire. And then obviously Adam Scherr's music had hit and he'd grab the mic and say, well, no one wants you anyway apart from EC3 apparently. So again, that's a little callback to EC3 and Adam Scherr's argument that they had. I don't know why EC3 brought you in here, but I don't want you here, so I'll get rid of you. Like I got rid of Omos, I'll get rid of you as well. So he's basically saying, so that's another way of, so I'm going to get rid of Omos basically. So Omos is done now. I brought him in for the Adam Scherr feud, and now it's over. So that's a way of saying that. That's a way of telling you that Omos isn't going to be here anymore, which he's not. I'm going to release him just to save a bit of money, basically. I'll say that. I think I'm going to release him, and I might bring him back later in the year if this series continues, because I've quite liked having him actually. I think it's been quite a good little signing. So he's been a lot better than I thought it was going to be, which has been nice. But that may be due to I've put him up against. But yeah, for now I'm going to let him go. But yeah, so anyway, that's setting that match. So that match is going to take place on the next episode of Disruption. So it's going to be Adam Scherr and Sean Morley. That's going to be the opening segment. And then this is going to be the opening match. It's going to be Jake Atlas once again in action, this time against Jervis. Carton Bailey. He was not a hillbilly as far as I'm aware. And neither was that accent. It was, I don't know what it was. It was meant to be a hillbilly. Anyway, move on. Before I offend somebody else, no doubt. So Jake Atlas is going to win. And this time he's not going to cheat. He's just going to pin him. And there's no real purpose for that match happening other than just to keep Jake Atlas on our television screen. Moving on to an interview. This time with young Christopher Dickinson. And he will slag off Patrick Clark. So what would happen here? So the interviewer would ask him questions like, oh, how's me? Obviously we saw what happened at the Final Command. How is Mina? Is she, you obviously hit her by accident. How is she? And, he says, well, as far as I'm aware, she's not here tonight. I know I hit her quite hard with, I was full swing with that clothesline, but, she's a... So he says complimentary things about her. Like, he says, oh, she's a fighter, she'll be back. But yeah, I've not heard from her, to be honest with you, so I hope she's okay. And then the announcer will say, then the interviewer will say, oh well, you know, you did quite complimentary of Mina there. Is she? Are you starting to like her because it's obvious she liked you? And he kind of then distance himself and says, well, you know, I'm still not quite sure. She's still associating herself with the blacklist, so I don't know what to make of her, to be honest with you. I'm still a bit, but you know, despite that, I don't want to hurt the woman, so I would like to know that she's okay. And then obviously again the interviewer says, well, speaking of the blacklist, she left with, you know, they carried her away, she left with them. I mean, have you got no way of getting in touch with her, or do you know where they are, or? And then he'll end with like threatening Patrick Clark, saying, well, I don't know what their game is or what they're playing at or what they're doing to Mina, but next time I see Patrick Clark, I'm gonna rip his head off, you know, something like that. I don't know, something not lame anyway. But that's essentially the gist of that. So again, more fallout from Final Command as we move on to another segment, and it's going to be another challenge, but this time it is for tonight. So say his name and he appears, and Chase Owens is going to reply to the challenge. So Joe Hendry would come out and say he wants a match tonight. He wants to be competitive, and then Chase Owens comes out and says, well, you know, I've not wrestled for ages, I'll take you on. And yeah, they have a little bit of a back and forth, and why not? Chase Owens and Joe Hendry. Let's do it. Why not indeed? Next on the agenda, we continue the fallout from Final Command. This time, it's a heated confrontation, and it is Shark Boy and EC3. So Shark Boy comes out, gets in EC3's face, or gets in the ring and says, EC3, you got physical. You finally put your headset down and showed your true colours or something like that at Final Command. So why don't you put your headset down again and come into the ring? So EC3 puts his headset down, gets in the ring, and they basically shout and scream at each other and insult each other. And EC3 finishes it off by saying, you know, you need to remember who's in charge here. If you keep this up, if you keep calling me out, if you keep, you know, running your mouth or whatever, flapping your fins. I made myself laugh there. Well, loser. Anyway, yeah, if you keep flapping your fins, I'm going to make your life. It basically says he's going to make his life a misery. So EC3 threatens to make Shark Boy's life a misery. That's the fallout there. And then we're going to have a long-awaited debut, which was spoiled in the last video. But hey ho. So it's going to be Brian Johnson, he's not debuting, taking on the debuting Whisper. So not Jeff Hardy, Willow, I was saying Willow the Whisper, just Willow, wasn't it? Anyway, it's not Jeff Hardy, it's a guy called the Whisper. I don't really know who he is, if I'm being honest, but he's going to win this match. And he's going to win it cleanly, because why not? And his gimmick is mysterious, so he's going to be a bit like, I was going to say hologram, kind of like, not a luchador, but you know, someone who's a bit like, hopefully, like I said, just a bit mysterious, kind of like, oh, this guy's quite cool, you know, he's got some cool moves, and kind of a likeable, yeah, mysterious, that mystique kind of makes him likeable and makes people gravitate towards him and makes people want to see more of him, and hopefully the fact that his matches are good will play a part in that as well. So that's going to be his gimmick. Basically, he's just kind of not a gimmick, just, like I said, just a bit mysterious, hopefully magnetic. For the main event, we're going to have a recap of, I say hype for a one-on-one match. It's going to be a hype of a match that's already happened. So it's going to be Gable Stevenson and Chuck O'Neill. So it's just basically going to be a repeat. Just going to repeat the end of their cage match. Essentially, that's what would happen here. Finishing off with the main event. My voice is absolutely gone. How do singers sing? I think you can do voice exercises, can't you? I really need to do them because every time I record these videos, I get about 5 minutes in and then my voice just goes. I think it's because I work from home, so I'm sat on my own all day, so I don't talk. You know what I mean? So then when I suddenly do start talking, my voice just goes. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on very, very quickly. So it's Joe Hendry taking on Chase Owens. And Joe Hendry is going to win this match. Bit of an upset potentially there. So he wins cleanly, but then Chaser wins, gets his heat back. Why not? And no real purpose to that. It's just a little one night storyline between those two. As I said, I've not planned any further than this, which I probably should have done. Don't worry about that. That's for future uncommentators to worry about. For now, we just need to get this show booked. This video is 35 minutes long somehow. There we go. Didn't like the Stoner gimmick, but he gained 3 points of overness, so that's fine. He's going to retire anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I've only brought him in to do this. I've only brought him in to do a little quick storyline with him before he retires. That's essentially all that's going on here. Good segment though, which is nice. There we go. That's a bit more like it in terms of the overall rating. That was a good match. Good. Good. Oh, surprised about that, but we'll take it. Good. Hoping for better, but it doesn't matter. We'll take it. Yeah, that was never going to be good, but it's fine. And that, yeah, it's not too bad. I suppose 70% quality. Yeah, we'll take that. That was a pretty good shot, actually. 61% could have been worse. Could have been worse. Anything interesting happened? Chance Profit's gone to TWR. Jodie Fleisch has gone to Defy. Natalia has gone to Impact. And Yuji Nagata has gone to AAA. And 176 people turned up to watch Disruption. Because nothing screams Lucha Libre like Yuji Nagata. But hey ho, that is the end of the video. Which rhymes, kind of. So yeah, so we're nearly finished with April now, so we need to start the build to our May event, but that's all to come in a future video. For now, as I said, that's the end of this video, so if you enjoyed this video, then please like and share the video. You can also leave a comment on the video, should you choose to do that. While you're here on YouTube, if you head on over to the channel, the commentator, you will find the rest of the videos in this playlist. If you want to know why Jake Atlas has been playing the homophobia card and things like that, then please go and check that out. There's more there as well. You'll explain how the blacklist came to be, etc, etc. So yeah, if you haven't been watching the series and it's piqued your interest and you want to catch up on it, then all those videos are over there, of course, on the channel. If you like wrestling, there is also some other wrestling-related content for you to enjoy, including WWE Crush Hour. I played through that. I've also played this game before. I booked PWG with a slightly different database. So again, if you're enjoying this series, maybe you want to go and check that out. If you don't like wrestling, then I'm not quite sure how you've made it this far, but if that is the case, there is plenty of other content for you to enjoy, including Pokemon, including Star Fox, including Kirby, including Streets of Rage, and lots more. But join me next time. We're going to be moving on to May. We're going to be going into May, starting the build to our May event, and hopefully getting a new TV deal. But until we get to that point, for now, from me, it is sayonara.